I gave my $12,000 inheritance to my sister so she could launch her wellness retreat after Mom said you have no vision anyway. She then sent me a package with her brochure and a note that read, maybe you can clean rooms here. So I showed up with a surprise. I'm dealing with a lot of family drama right now, and I could really use some advice. Here's a quick rundown of the situation. I, 29F, gave my $12,000 inheritance from my mom to my sister, 34F, Vanessa, so she could pursue her dream of opening a wellness retreat. It was something she'd talked about for years, and even though I wasn't sure it was a good idea, I wanted to support her. My mom had always been dismissive of me, telling me I had no vision, so I thought maybe helping Vanessa would make her stop holding that over me. Fast forward to today, I got a package from Vanessa. It was a brochure for her retreat with a note that said, maybe you can clean rooms here. You know, something for people with no vision. I'm beyond hurt, and I don't know what to do next. Should I confront her? I'm seriously tempted to show up at her retreat with a surprise of my own. Am I being unreasonable? I never thought I'd be here. My mom, Diane, passed away a few months ago, and in the wake of her death, my sister Vanessa and I were left to sort through the mess of her belongings. We were raised in a small town near Asheville, North Carolina, and the house we grew up in was cramped, suffocating at times. Mom was never the nurturing type, especially toward me. She always treated Vanessa like the golden child, the one who had everything figured out. Meanwhile, I was the second daughter, the one who didn't quite measure up. I guess that's how things work when you're the backup plan. Vanessa always had big dreams. She was the one who talked about opening a wellness retreat, finding some kind of peaceful sanctuary out in the mountains. It was always just talk, but I couldn't fault her for it. At least she had a vision for her life, unlike me. When our mom died, we got a phone call from the lawyer. There was an inheritance, $12,000, to be split between Vanessa and me. At first, I thought about keeping it for myself. I had bills to pay, debts that felt like they might swallow me whole. But then, I remembered the conversations I'd had with Vanessa over the years. She kept talking about her wellness retreat, and I could see how much it meant to her. I knew she didn't have the money to make it happen on her own, and I had more than enough to give her a jump start. It wasn't a huge sum, but it could make a difference. I thought maybe it was time to be the supportive sister. I'll help you, I told Vanessa one day when she was discussing her retreat plans. I'll give you the money. But you need to make this work, okay? You need to prove me wrong. Vanessa's eyes lit up. Oh my God, Natalie. Thank you. This is exactly what I need. I didn't expect her to be so enthusiastic, but I still had my reservations. I wanted to believe in her, but there were too many pieces that didn't quite fit. The location she'd chosen for the retreat was an old farmhouse on the edge of town, too isolated, too run down. I wasn't sure it was the right place for her vision, but I handed over the money anyway. You better make something of it, I said, swallowing my doubts. Vanessa hugged me tightly, her face glowing with excitement. I won't let you down. This is going to change everything. Months went by, and things didn't quite go the way I'd hoped. Vanessa's wellness retreat, Serenity Hills, was supposed to be this beautiful, transformative place, but when I visited the property, it always felt like it was stuck in limbo. The farmhouse was still falling apart, contractors weren't showing up on time, and there were piles of half-finished yoga mats stacked in the corner of rooms that weren't even close to being ready. It wasn't what I had imagined, at all. Still, I tried to be supportive. I called Vanessa regularly, asking her how things were going. She'd talk excitedly about her plans, telling me about the website she was working on, the brochure that was being printed, the team of instructors she was bringing in. I tried to keep my skepticism to myself, but something felt off. I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't going to turn out the way she thought. Then, one day, I received a package in the mail. The envelope was heavy, and I could tell it was from Vanessa before I even opened it. Inside, there was a glossy brochure for Serenity Hills. The design was sleek, the photos of serene landscapes and happy people doing yoga looked like something straight out of a stock photo website. Along with the brochure, there was a handwritten note from Vanessa. "Maybe you can clean rooms here," it read. You know, something for people with no vision. My stomach twisted as I read the note over and over again. Her words felt like a slap in the face. I had given her my inheritance, my support, and in return, she mocked me? What did she think I was, some kind of servant? I couldn't believe it. My sister had taken my money, my belief in her, and turned it into a joke. I had expected her to show some gratitude, maybe even a thank you note. Instead, I got a mockery of everything I'd done for her. For a moment, I just stood there, staring at the note in disbelief, feeling the anger boil up inside me. I knew I needed to do something, but what? Confront her? I was beyond hurt, beyond angry. My mind raced as I thought about what to do next. And then, it hit me. I wasn't going to sit back and take this. I was going to show up. I was going to show her what it meant to truly make something of yourself, even when you felt small. So, I packed a bag, got in my car, and drove the 3 hours up to Serenity Hills. When I arrived at the retreat, the place was exactly how I remembered it, half done and full of broken promises. The farmhouse had been painted, but there were still cracks in the walls and piles of debris scattered around the property. I could hear Vanessa's voice before I even stepped onto the gravel driveway, talking animatedly on the phone. I stood there for a moment, unsure of what I was going to say when she saw me. I didn't want to scream, didn't want to make a scene. But I knew I couldn't just let this go. I knocked sharply on the door. Vanessa opened it, her eyes wide with surprise. "Natalie? What are you doing here?" I didn't waste time with pleasantries. "I got your note," I said, my voice tight. "The one that says I should clean rooms here. I thought you'd at least have the decency to thank me for giving you everything I had." Vanessa froze, her mouth opening and closing, but she didn't say anything right away. Her eyes shifted uncomfortably as she looked me over. "Look, I didn't mean it like that," she said, finally finding her words. "I was just frustrated. This whole thing is harder than I thought." "Harder than you thought?" I repeated, my voice rising. "You took my money, Vanessa. You took everything I had and turned it into this. And now you're going to act like I'm the one with no vision?" She looked down at the floor, her shoulders slumping. "I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean it. I don't know how to do this, Natalie. I don't know how to be the person everyone expects me to be." I crossed my arms. "Then stop pretending. You don't have to be who Mom wanted you to be. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. But you do have to start taking responsibility for your actions." She finally met my gaze, her eyes softening. "I'm sorry. I really am. I don't know what to say to make this right." I stood there, the weight of everything she had said, and hadn't said, hanging in the air between us. And in that moment, I realized that maybe I didn't need her to make it right. I needed to make it right for myself. "I'm not here to fight, Vanessa. I'm here to help. But you need to stop acting like the world owes you something. You can't keep tearing people down just because you're struggling." She looked at me, the defensiveness starting to fade from her face. Slowly, she nodded. "I don't know how to fix this, but I want to try." "Then let's try together," I said. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a start. The days that followed were a strange mix of tension and fragile hope. Vanessa and I had a long way to go, and I knew that showing up to her retreat wasn't going to magically fix everything between us. But something had shifted between us that day. She wasn't the confident, untouchable sister I'd always known. Now, she was just vulnerable, uncertain, and surprisingly human. We spent the next few hours walking through the retreat together. I could see the stress in her eyes, the way she would glance around at the half-finished rooms as though she was waiting for someone to tell her it was all going to be okay. I didn't know what to say to make her feel better, but I knew one thing for sure: I couldn't fix her problems. But maybe I could help her make it better, even if it meant getting my hands dirty. We walked past the yoga studio, where the floors had just been swept but the mirrors were still cracked and uninstalled. It was a beautiful space, if you looked at it with a little imagination, but right now, it was more of a dream than reality. The garden outside was overrun with weeds, and I could tell that she'd started a vegetable patch but had given up on it months ago. "Do you have a plan for this place?" I asked, trying to keep my voice even. Vanessa stopped walking, her eyes flickering down to the garden. "I thought I did. I thought I knew how to make it work. But every time I try, it feels like something else goes wrong." I could hear the frustration in her voice, the weight of it pressing down on her shoulders. It was the same way I had felt for years, watching her chase after these dreams that always seemed just out of reach. But I had to remember, this wasn't just about me. This was her dream. "You can't give up on it now," I said, my voice softer. "It's too big for you to walk away from." She turned to face me, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. "I'm not walking away, Nat. I don't know how to walk away. But I don't know how to make this work either. It feels like I'm failing, and I don't want to admit that to anyone, not even to you." I looked at her, really looked at her for the first time in a long while. There was something raw in her face, something that I didn't recognize at first, but now, it was all too clear. She was scared. Not just of failing, but of everything that came with it: the judgment, the disappointment, the feeling that she wasn't good enough. I could see it now. "You don't have to do this alone," I said, the words coming out before I even had a chance to think about them. "I gave you the money because I believed in you, even when Mom didn't. But I don't want to just hand you cash and walk away. If this is going to work, I need to be here for you. I'm not asking for you to be perfect. I'm asking for you to try. We can try together." Vanessa stood still for a moment, her eyes searching mine as if she was trying to figure out if I really meant it. I could tell that the walls she'd built up around herself had started to crack, just a little bit. "I don't know how to do this," she whispered, almost to herself. "But I want to try, too." We spent the rest of the day walking around the property, making plans. It was clear to me now that the retreat wasn't going to open in the next month, or even the next couple of months. There was so much work to be done. But for the first time in a while, I didn't feel the sense of failure that had hung over Vanessa for so long. Instead, I felt hope. It was a fragile kind of hope, but it was there, and it was enough. Over the next few weeks, I helped Vanessa start organizing the retreat. We made lists of things that needed to be fixed, areas that needed to be cleaned, and plans for how to bring in people. It wasn't glamorous work, cleaning, painting, sorting, but it was real. It was something we could both contribute to. It didn't matter if Vanessa didn't know everything about running a wellness retreat. What mattered was that she was trying. And for the first time, I was trying too. I started getting involved more, offering ideas for the garden and helping to design the website. Vanessa had hired a few contractors to work on the place, but I could tell they were as overwhelmed as she was. It didn't help that the property was out in the middle of nowhere, which meant transportation was a challenge, especially for clients. I helped Vanessa set up a shuttle system to make it easier for people to get to the retreat, and I suggested we host a few free weekend workshops to bring in clients and get the word out. "I didn't think about that," Vanessa admitted as we sat together one night, going over plans for the future. "I was too focused on making everything perfect, on the image I wanted to portray. I didn't think about the people who would actually be coming here." I smiled a little. "It's okay. Nobody knows everything from the start. But you've got something real here, something that can help people. That's what matters." Vanessa nodded slowly, her fingers tapping nervously against the table. "It's just so much. Every time I think we're getting somewhere, something else falls apart. I don't know if I can keep up with it all. I could see the exhaustion in her face. The constant pressure of trying to make everything perfect was wearing her down. I wanted to say something comforting, something that would make it all seem easier, but I knew that wasn't possible. Sometimes, things just had to be hard before they could get better. I know it's hard, I said, my voice gentle. But you're not alone in this. I'm here. I want to help. You're not failing. You're just learning. And that's okay. She looked up at me, her eyes searching for something, anything to hold on to. Slowly, she smiled. It wasn't a perfect smile, but it was real. Thanks, Natalie, she said quietly. I didn't know how much I needed to hear that. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like maybe we were finally on the same side. We worked tirelessly over the next few months, and although things didn't magically fall into place, there were small victories along the way. The rooms that had been so broken down were slowly renovated, and the garden that Vanessa had started was finally being tended to with care. We held our first workshop, just a small group of people, but it was a start. The retreat was starting to feel more like the dream Vanessa had spoken about so many times, but now, it was something that felt tangible. Every day wasn't easy. There were setbacks, frustrations, and moments when we both thought about giving up. But we didn't. Not this time. There was something in me now, something in both of us, that kept us pushing forward, no matter how many things went wrong. I had given her my trust, my inheritance, and now I was giving her something more, my belief that we could make this work, together. But I couldn't shake the feeling that there was still something Vanessa wasn't telling me. Something still felt unfinished between us. The months passed by in a blur of work and small victories. Serenity Hills was slowly coming together, more beautiful, more promising than it had been when I first arrived. We were finally getting some traction, hosting more workshops, and Vanessa was starting to bring in clients who seemed genuinely excited about what she was building. There were still moments of doubt in her eyes, but they were fewer now. She was beginning to embrace the idea that, while she didn't have all the answers, she could still make something meaningful out of what she had. I was proud of her. But despite all the progress we had made, something still gnawed at me. Every time I walked past that brochure she'd sent me, the words burned in my mind, maybe you can clean rooms here. Every time I saw her walk around the retreat, making plans for her next big project, I wondered if she had really learned anything about respect, humility, or what it truly meant to build something from the ground up. It had been months since I'd confronted Vanessa at the retreat, and while we had repaired some of the rift between us, there were still unsaid things hanging in the air. I had let a lot slide. I had kept my anger to myself. But I couldn't shake the feeling that she didn't fully understand how much I'd sacrificed for her, how much I'd done for her without ever receiving a genuine thanks. It was time to settle things. One evening, as I was wrapping up work in my apartment, I got a call from Vanessa. She sounded more upbeat than usual, which should have made me happy, but I had a sinking feeling in my stomach. Hey, Nat. I've got a big announcement, she said, excitement in her voice. Serenity Hills is officially opening. We've got our first full weekend retreat booked, and it's going to be amazing. I've been talking to this high-profile yoga instructor, she's going to lead our first session, and she's huge on social media. I'm thinking this could be the break I've been waiting for. I was silent for a beat, taking in her words. This was it, the moment she'd been dreaming about for so long. The big moment when everything was supposed to come together. That's great, Vanessa, I said, forcing a smile into my voice. You've really come a long way. Thanks. I really couldn't have done it without you, Nat. Honestly, I don't know what I'd have done without your help. You were there when I needed it, and you've always believed in me. I closed my eyes, resisting the urge to tell her what I was really feeling. It was all just words, empty words. The truth was, she still hadn't really seen me. She still hadn't realized what I had done for her. And that's when it hit me: if she wouldn't acknowledge my contribution, then I had to make sure she understood just how far I had gone. "I'm glad to hear you're doing well," I said. "But listen, I was thinking. I want to make sure the opening weekend goes perfectly. I think I could help out a bit more, maybe with the preparations or organizing the event. I can get some people on the guest list, and I'll make sure the marketing is tight. Let me know what you need." Vanessa hesitated, then said, "You know what? That would be great. We're kind of scrambling a bit with everything going on. It'd be amazing if you could help out. But, Nat, just so you know, I've already got everything pretty much handled. I've got everything under control now. You don't have to worry." I felt a flicker of frustration in my chest, but I pushed it down. "No problem. I just want to see you succeed," I said, keeping my voice even. "Let me know if you change your mind." When the call ended, I sat there, thinking. It was clear that she still didn't truly see what I had done. Even now, when she was on the verge of success, she hadn't fully recognized the role I played in getting her to this point. I wasn't going to let her forget. The day of the grand opening arrived, and I showed up, unannounced. I could feel the air buzzing with excitement as the first guests began to arrive. The staff members, some of whom I had personally helped Vanessa hire and train, looked busy and frazzled as they moved about, making sure everything was in place. There was a sense of polished professionalism in the air, but there was something else too, something faint, a feeling of uncertainty that still lingered beneath the surface. I walked up to the front desk, where Vanessa was standing, greeting guests. Her face lit up when she saw me, but there was a tension in her eyes. "Nat. You made it," she said, forcing a smile. "I wasn't sure if you'd come." I looked around the retreat, at all the new faces, the beautiful, tranquil setting, and I let out a deep breath. "I came to see if it was everything you wanted it to be," I said quietly. "I came to see if you were finally proud of what you built." Vanessa looked a little uncomfortable, like she wasn't quite sure how to respond. But she quickly composed herself. "I think you'll be impressed. Everything's finally coming together, just like I said it would." "Good," I said, keeping my expression neutral. "I'm glad. It looks great. But there's one thing I need to tell you, Vanessa. I've been thinking a lot about everything that's happened between us, and I've realized something." She raised an eyebrow, clearly curious. "What's that?" "I've been more patient with you than I should have been," I said, my voice steady. "And I've let you get away with a lot, including that note you sent me. The one that said I should clean rooms here." Vanessa's face tightened. "I apologized for that, Nat. I really did. You know, I didn't mean it that way." I shook my head. "No, you didn't apologize." "Not really. You took my inheritance, my money, and then you treated me like I was nothing. And all I ever wanted was for you to see me, just once. To appreciate everything I did to help you. I don't need your gratitude, Vanessa. But I want you to understand that I didn't do this to be a doormat. I did it because I believed in you. I believed you could make this happen." She looked at me, her face flushed with a mixture of guilt and defensiveness. "What do you want me to say, Nat? I can't change the past." "No," I said. "But you can acknowledge it. And that's what you've been avoiding all this time. You still think you did this all on your own, but the truth is, you didn't. And I'm not going to stand by while you act like I had no part in this." Vanessa took a step back, her eyes darting around the room, as though she wasn't sure what to say next. I reached into my bag and pulled out an envelope. "I wanted to give you this," I said, holding it out to her. "This is the final piece of the puzzle." She took the envelope, her eyes narrowing slightly. She pulled out the contents, a copy of the brochure she had sent me months ago, the one with the mocking note about cleaning rooms. "I've kept this," I said softly. "Because I wanted to remind you of who you were. And who you are now. But there's something you need to understand: this retreat, this success, none of it means anything if you can't show some humility. You don't get to walk around like you're the only person who made this happen. I've been here, Vanessa. I've been here the whole time. Vanessa stared at the brochure, her face pale, her jaw clenched. I could see the wheels turning in her mind as the weight of my words finally hit her. She couldn't hide from the truth anymore. I wasn't just a stepping stone for her dream, I was a part of it. And I wasn't going to let her forget that. I'm proud of you, Vanessa, I said, turning to leave. But you owe me more than just this retreat. You owe me the recognition I've always deserved. And with that, I walked out of Serenity Hills, leaving behind a retreat that was finally open, but a sister who would never forget the cost of her success.